Good morning everyone, welcome back to another weekly outlook. We're going to go straight into it today. We're going to start off here on the monthly on EU as always. Okay, so let's just go through this price action quickly. For those that may be new to the channel, we've got our bullish dealing range, right? That is from this low here to this high. That's coming from this bullish imbalance, which created that range. And then we topped out here over the last few months where we took the buy side liquidity from above these highs. We had gone into a bearish imbalance here and order block, right? So price topped out there, and you can see that that resulted in some bearish months. March closing out as a sort of bearish engulfing, right? You can see we made about 3 months movement here just in this March candle. So with that initial analysis out of the way, what is my outlook here on the monthly? Right, so we are in a premium of our dealing range. If we look below towards our discount, right, I've got that drawn out, our discount here, you can see we have a range of higher time frame confluences which work as draws on liquidity. So price obviously moves from liquidity to liquidity. So we moved from this area here to this open area here as well, where this imbalance has seen as resistance. Right, so price looks to have topped out. That momentum sort of died out from that bullish move, and below now we have draws on liquidity. Just looking at this monthly chart first, you can see in this monthly leg here we have a BPR, right, from this up close imbalance and down close imbalance overlapping each other, and then also into this open bullish imbalance here. Right, and that's just from the monthly. You can see also we have this order block, but that's also a quarterly order block. And on the quarterly time frame, we also have this inverse fair value gap. I'll go up to that and we can see that in a moment as well. And we have this quarterly fair value gap open. So those are a range of confluences that can draw liquidity, draw price towards it. So let's go up to the 3 month. And you can see that a bit more clearly. You can see below price now, right, we've just opened this new quarterly candle, really, it's only been a week. We have this large imbalance, right, very clear quarterly fair value gap, which that open is marked out. We have that order block as well, right, and then here's that inverse fair value gap, which was holding price as resistance and now could be used for support. So all of these confluences are overlapping each other in this area here to attract price. So we have really good high time frame confluences to act as our draw on liquidity for a monthly pullback, right? That would be a pullback down towards this area as we are in a bullish trend, as you can see. So that's still my first play. This bullish momentum here isn't putting me off that, because price obviously would be pulling back into the previous monthly candle, looking for resistance, find resistance, and then it will leave a top wick, right, and then create that bearish candle body if we're to come for this quarterly fair value gap. Okay, so that's not an issue. So let's go down to the weekly. Let's see what a weekly looks like and if it still agrees with our monthly pullback. Here we are on the weekly, and as we did with the monthly, we're going to check out our current dealing range. Our current dealing range is a bearish one, right? So from this high to this low is a bearish dealing range. Why? Because price broke this bullish dealing range, which was from this low to this high. Okay, so once we broke down here, taking out these lows, we became a bearish dealing range, and price looks like it's committing to bearish order flow. Okay, so what does this mean? Without going into more detail just yet, the monthly looks to be playing out a bearish pullback. So the weekly, now having that bearish structure, that bearish dealing range, also aligns itself with that monthly outlook. Now we have also pulled back to our upside drawn liquidity here on the weekly, right, because we had this bearish open imbalance and BPR as well. Price has now pulled back into it. We're now looking to see for price to top out to continue that bearish move towards its downside drawn liquidity, which is the quarterly fair value gap low, and of course this previous monthly low from March as well, this sell side liquidity here. Okay, so that's our bigger target anyway, that quarterly fair value gap, but a weekly pulling back to this bearish imbalance here, right, to then possibly top out and continue bearish, looks good for our monthly bearish outlook, right, that pullback outlook, and it's aligned with the weekly, and now we've got a nice PDA to use, right, for price to reject and for us to use to trade towards the downside. Right, so we're just waiting for price to top out here, at least I am anyway, and this is good, right? So we've eliminated one of our draws on liquidity, so now we've only got the one left below. So now price is no longer confused in the middle being held there. What did we have? Why did price pull back? Now DXY had already completed this. DXY has already gone into the quarterly fair value gap. So we had some SMC or SMT, whatever you call it, right, at these lows here. That gave us our first signal that price may want to pull back towards this opening balance. So after that, we saw reaction from there, and there is further SMC, which we'll see on the lower daily timeframes as well, which price then reacted bullish from again. That's the main message from here. The weekly also aligns bearish with the monthly. We've now pulled back to a weekly bearish PDA, which, as I was just saying, on the monthly explains that bullish momentum candle on the monthly, right? Because it's the weekly seeking out this imbalance here, which it could use to now reject. We could see this top wick here form for the rest of the week on the weekly, so that could look like a high test weekly candle now with a smaller body. We'll see how much of the body can be taken up. Okay, so like I said, we're seeking in the previous monthly dealing range, price is now seeking out these sort of bearish PDAs to then use to continue going lower. Right, so that all aligns perfectly well for me, and I think that looks good and clear here on the weekly. So let's go down to the daily. Let's see what the last higher time frame looks like for us. Now on the daily, just quickly to refer to that SMT we was talking about, right, that quarterly fair value gap, which is this candle's low. DXY had already entered that, so we had that SMT. Price pulled back in its daily range, in its bearish daily range that it had here. Price pulled back to this bearish order block and fair value gap here, rejected it once. Price looked like it was going to continue bearish. We got further SMT here, or SMC, when DXY also again completed this low. Right, so that was another signal again that price could possibly have a bullish sort of reversal here. And that's exactly what happened. We had more bullish price action. Price came up and retested this area again and rejected. However, this time it left behind a bullish imbalance. Okay, so what have we seen here? Price has pulled back into that bullish imbalance and we have rejected it. And that from there, we have been given the momentum to go and take out these highs here and come into our weekly imbalance, right? Our draw on liquidity on the upside. We've been pulled into that now, and there's also a daily imbalance within that as well, as you can see. Okay, so those two overlap and align, which is good. We've taken buy side liquidity, right? You can see the sort of buy side liquidity trend line here from previous highs on the daily. Again, what are we looking for? Price to top out, daily and lower time frame to start rejecting this area here. So as you can see, we have SMC or SMT again with DXY, because DXY has not taken this low here yet, and we've taken out the high. So what does that mean? That's usually a signal for, of course, weak prices, for bearish movement. If this remains, it's fine, it works out in our favor, gives another confluence towards lower prices. If it doesn't, it's fine as well, because of course they'll be aligned and we still have this area to use as a bearish PDA. So with the daily at the moment, of course, we have a bit of a bullish order flow because of this, right? We've respected this bullish PDA here, but the bullish order flow obviously needed to happen for price to reach this zone here. So I don't believe price has switched bullish, and we're going to see further bullish price action. However, it's not so aligned with the weekly, monthly just yet, and we may need to wait for it. For those higher probability trades, it will be even better once some price action forms here on the daily and we break another, say, swing low. It doesn't have to be this low, we may form another one and price gets back on side with its order flow. Right, that will just make everything on our side. It will bring up the probabilities, of course, right? But things like this must happen for price to pull back to an imbalance, let's say, or PDA on a higher time frame. So in order to reach this point on the weekly, is more than likely with this sort of development, we're going to break order flow on the daily to get there. It doesn't necessarily mean we're going to continue going bullish from here on out. Bearish order flow, by the way, is not just the structures. So once it starts respecting these zones, maybe breaks down, leaves behind a bearish imbalance again, and we start respecting that, that means the daily order flow is back on side for us. Okay, so my outlook is still bearish. We'll just be waiting for the lower time frame to show that we're topping out in this zone as well, to continue a bearish sell model down to this quarterly fair value gap, which is my main draw on liquidity for the time being. So now, having looked at all these high time frames, weekly, monthly aligned, daily has a bit of bullish order flow there, but we've made it to our bearish imbalance zone. Let's go down to the 4 hour. Let's see what these lower time frames start looking like for us. Right, so we can see here from the 4 hour that the lower time frame order flow is bullish, right? So just ignoring this zone here for now, you can see we had that good bullish order flow. When price made this pullback here, which was when the daily rejected its bearish imbalance zone, it looked like we was going to continue bearish. This price action wasn't the best, as you can see. What's happened was when price had that SMC down here, where DXY did complete this move and reach this target, SMC came in, and that low resistance liquidity that we had built up here was pretty much mostly taken out, right? So that's where price reversed. We left behind bullish imbalances. Price came down to respect those. You can see swept sell side liquidity, took out this internal high, came back down to another bullish imbalance, and we ended up going and taking out those highs with a Trump pump, right? Trump's tweeted something, I believe, about a deal with Iran. So of course price now bolted up into our upside draw of liquidity. So we ended up taking out all of this structure here. Order flow is bullish, right? We're not yet to see any bearish order flow come into this. So the lower time frame doesn't match with that weekly, monthly outlook just yet. And the daily as well, it sort of goes along with the daily where it's bullish at the moment. So like I said, we need to top out. We need that structure to shift again now towards the downside, right? Because now we've got a larger sell model, clear bullish dealing ranges. We need to see price reverse. Now, I'm not interested in longs. Why am I not interested in longs? We've come into these higher time frame bearish confluences, right? We've come into these imbalances, and we've got SMT at these highs. So it's all pointing for price to head lower. So of course I want to go along with that. I don't want to trade into this zone here. We've already come into this zone. I was looking for longs down here, but again, been Trump pumped right up into this zone before we could look for anything. Okay, so we've taken out all of this buy side liquidity, and we're in this sell zone sort of area. So I'm just going to wait for price to form structures in the opposite direction to trade down towards this quarterly fair value gap. And it's nice that we have this larger sell model now from all the way up here. So we should have plenty of time and opportunities to look for trades right in this section of the leg here, where we're making our way down to the quarterly fair value gap, right? That is ideal. So I do like the look of that. Let's go to the hourly. It's going to look similar, but let's see what the price action read looks like there. So again, of course, the order flow of the hourly is bullish. Now what we can see happening today, we've got our Asia range here. We've taken out the buy side liquidity from that Asia range as well, which is good because, as I said, price goes from liquidity to liquidity. So we'll take out that buy side liquidity above here. And if we switch structure around here, you know, take out some swing lows, Asia lows, form a structure, that'll be a nice sort of strong high because it took buy side liquidity before breaking down. We're going to need some bearish imbalances, right? We're going to need, after price taking out the buy side liquidity, of course we may go higher. We're going to need price to give us a good structure. Take that out, pull back, maybe give us another strong structural high and break down again, right? That would be ideal, something like this to form for us, leaving behind, you know, good 1 hour imbalances there for price to use and to show us that the bearish order flow is now in control here. Why I'm drawing this is just to show that clearly at the moment bullish order flow is in control. We've got bullish dealing ranges. We do have nice weak sell side liquidity areas here, as you can see. Look at this lovely trend line left behind here. This isn't an area that I would see resistance coming from, okay, because you can see how that sell side liquidity is built up there. So we've got our buy side curve, which looks good. We're just waiting for our sell side curve to come in and look very clear for us. So more needs to develop here. right? Whether that's on the 1 hour or M15. I'd prefer once the 1 hour and M15 are both aligned, right, creating price action that looks like this. Price may need to go higher into this imbalance here. We're not sure yet, right? We may see a spike like this, taking out these highs and then breaking down. This here again is sort of weak price action. It's Asia lows, right? Again, I'm not looking to buy anywhere around here. These lows here aren't that good. They need to get taken out as well. So take one side of Asia, take the other side. But I want to see it create structure that can be used, that we can create strong highs from, like this one where we take out a previous high. Maybe that high will be a fake high that's just below an imbalance like this one. Okay, so that would be what I need to see come into the market after prices topping out in this area. Today may just be a development day, but what would be good is the fact that if we do top out today, it's a Wednesday, right? So that would be a good weekly profile where Wednesday high of the week and then Thursday, Friday are going towards our price action targets by expanding. We can briefly go on to the M15, but the M15 is just going to look like the hourly. But you can see how weak that price action is here this morning, where we've taken out that Asia high. It's really weak price action. Weak lows all around here for price to aim for once we start getting that good bearish order flow and price action coming into the market. So just going up to the daily to wrap things up. I hope that was clear. We have the weekly, monthly aligned for that bearish price action. We have come into a weekly bearish PDA, and it's also a daily PDA. Now, of course, daily price action is a bit more bullish in terms of order flow because of this, right? So it's not as aligned for that bearish price action just yet. Same with the lower time frame. So we are waiting for price to top out. We're waiting for the lower time frame to show us that price has topped out in this area here. And then we can start looking for our shorts, and I'm sure of course the daily will then start getting more aligned with the weekly to increase our probability again to aim for this quarterly fair value gap. Any questions, just let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys next week.